guys, and welcome back to another True Crime Tuesday. But before we get into today's case, I just want to do the usual. So my name's Amber and I upload beauty and true crime content. If they're the type of videos that you like to watch, then why not hit that subscribe button and come along and join our little family. And if you're already part of the family, then why not make sure that the notification bell is switched on just so you're notified of whenever I upload a video. Why not give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below, and now we can get right into today's video. I always like to do a quick little disclaimer before we get into this video. These cases do contain adult references and adult content. If that makes you feel uncomfortable, that's completely fine. You can feel free to click off this video, and there are plenty of other videos over on my channel. I also like to say that I do not mean any disrespect to anyone mentioned in this video. I've literally just compiled all the information together to bring this case to you, and now we can get in. And today's case is a very interesting one. So we're going to be discussing the Florida lottery murder of Abraham Shakespeare. Abraham Lee Shakespeare was born on April 23rd in 1966, and he was an American casual labourer who won $30 million on the lottery jackpot. He received $17 million in 2006. In 2009, his family declared him missing, and in January of 2010, his body was actually found buried under a concrete slab in the backyard of an acquaintance. Abraham dropped out of school in 7th grade. As a result of this, he was actually illiterate. He found that himself in and out of jail. He was jailed several times, and he was actually convicted of a string of burglaries, and subsequently he just ended up working various jobs as like a poolside labourer. So on November 15th of 2006, the Florida Lotto winning ticket worth $30 million was sold at a Town Star convenience store in Foolsproof, Florida. On that day, Abraham and his co-worker Michael Ford were headed toward Miami, and they stopped briefly at the convenience store in Frostproof to buy drinks and cigarettes. Ford got out of his truck and he asked Abraham if he wanted a soda, but Abraham replied, and instead he asked him to buy 2 lottery tickets for him, and Abraham had paid Ford $2 for the tickets out of the $5 that he actually owed Ford, because he didn't have the rest of the money on him that day. Ford later actually approached Abraham after he'd won the lottery, and he demanded a share of no less than £1 million of the jackpot. Abraham actually refused to pay this, and it prompted Ford to sue him, and he alleged that Abraham had actually stole the lottery tickets from his wallet. The jury didn't believe Ford and this made up stolen lottery ticket story, and they actually threw the case out of court. Abraham chose a one-time lump sum cash payment of $17 million. Now, I'm not 100% sure how the lottery works in the US. I think it's a little bit different to over here. So I assume he could have had $30 million paid out like in increments, or he could have just took $17 million and had it all in like a lump sum. I assume that's maybe how it works. If anyone's from America and you're watching, let me know that down below, because that would be really interesting. So he moved out of his working class neighbourhood in Lakeland, Florida, and he moved into a gated community. Several months after his lottery win, apart from the $1 million home, his only other major purchases were a Nissan Altima and a Rolex from a pawn shop. He was frustrated because people were constantly approaching him, you know, people who were like acquaintances, people who weren't even his real friends, and it was sort of that thing of, you know, when you get money, people come out the woodwork. He actually told his brother that he'd be better off broke, and he also told a childhood friend that he thought all of the people that were surrounding him were his friends, but then they realised all that they wanted were his money. So one of these people was actually a lady named Doris Donegan, who was known as Dede. She launched a business with Abraham. She basically approached him saying that she could help him take care of his finances, so the two set out to set up a business to help him do so. The business was named Abraham Shakespeare LLC, and it gave her control of the firm's funds. Dede subsequently withdrew $1 million and bought herself a Hummer, a Chevrolet, a Corvette and a truck before going on a luxury vacation. She later claimed that the money was a gift from Abraham. Dede was born on July 25th of 1972. She was a prime suspect in the death of Abraham Shakespeare. She was married to James Moore in 1992 and had a son who was born in 1995. In 2001, Dede was actually convicted of insurance fraud and falsely reporting a crime. She served a year probation, and then she filed for bankruptcy in 2002. So on November 9th of 2009, Abraham's family was starting to get very, very worried that they hadn't heard from him in quite some time, and they decided that they were going to file a missing person report, because the last time that they'd actually heard or seen him was in April of that year. Family and friends had originally hoped that he'd taken his money and was living on a beach in the Caribbean Sea, but soon would be discovered that this wasn't the case. So before police found Abraham's body, Dede actually claimed that Abraham had decided to leave town town. She made up multiple stories that he'd gone to all these different places such as Texas, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Orlando and Florida. Or then she tried to claim that he was sick in hospital. She even claimed that he had said that he was sick of people asking for money and that he just needed to leave town, and she helped him do so. So Dede at this point is now living in Abraham's house. She kept using his cell phone and she was sending text messages to his friends and relatives, so they thought he was still alive. She was sending them like through his number, so they thought it was Abraham. The problem with this was people began to get suspicious because the way that Dede wrote these messages was not the same way that Abraham would. Remember, he's illiterate. The family members started to text back and question the whole saga because they were a bit like, this is strange, he would never text like that, and she just ignored them and didn't respond. So during the same time, Dede wanted to try and make it appear that Abraham was still alive, and she wanted to try and find someone to blame for his death. She even offered them £50,000 to take responsibility for his death. She also offered to pay someone to dig up and move his body to another location. Property records show that Dede's company, American Medical Professionals, had bought Abraham's house. Dede told investigators that she'd paid Abraham £655,000 for his home and bought £185,000 for loans. However, there is no evidence showing she paid Abraham anything. Dede also offered a mother of one of Abraham's children, because he had 2 sons, a £200,000 home if she would lie to detectives and tell them that she'd seen them recently. And she also paid another relative of Abraham $5,000 to give his mother a birthday card implying it was from him. Is she stupid? He can't read and write. He's illiterate. How is he going to write a birthday card? Like, this woman did not think this out. So through the investigation, it was learnt that Dede had actually once staged a scene to fraudulently keep a Lincoln Navigator, of which was in jeopardy of being repossessed after falling behind on the payments. She had someone store the car in a garage, and then she pretended she was kidnapped, sexually assaulted and carjacked. Investigators claim that she taped her wrists and threw herself from someone else's car to make the scene, and she even took a rape exam. She later pleaded no contest for the charge and received probation. So there was a tip-off that led investigators to the backyard of Dede's boyfriend, Shea Krasanicki, where Abraham's body was found buried in 5 feet of dirt under a newly constructed slab. At the time of his death, Abraham was just 43 years old. After the police found his body, Dede, she actually came up with several stories. One of them being that drug dealers had killed him, then a lawyer had, and then it was she blamed her own 14-year-old son. She accused her own 14-year-old son. And then she also blamed it on herself and claimed that she killed Abraham, but it was purely in self-defence. Hillsborough County detectives say that Abraham died on or around the 6th or 7th of April, and he wasn't discovered until the following January. He died in the single-storey ranch home in Plant City. Police took Dede into custody on February 2nd, 2010 in a connection with the murder of Abraham, and a judge set a £1 million bond. She was charged with being an accessory after the fact in first-degree murder. Police state Dede tried to convince an acquaintance to unearth the body and move it a week after Abraham's death, as she continued to try and make people believe that Abraham was still alive. So on February 19th, 2010, Dede was arrested on charge of first-degree murder. On December 10th, 2012, Dede Moore was convicted of the first-degree murder for killing Abraham Shakespeare, and she was sentenced to life in prison without an additional possibility of parole, with additional sentence for 25 years for possessing a gun in course of a violent felony. Now, I couldn't find out how he died. Now, I'm assuming because she's been arrested for possessing a gun, I'm assuming he was shot and then put under the ground. By the time of his death, police discovered that Abraham had only $14,000 left to his name. I think this story just shows the true colours of people and how greedy people can actually be. Like, it's absolutely disgraceful that people can be that greedy. Like, it's just awful, absolutely awful. I hope that Abraham's family have peace. I really feel for his full family and his 2 little boys, because like, he did, you know, he was trying to look after his money and he was trying to be a better person, and I just think it's absolutely awful. No one deserves this, and especially over something as stupid as money. Like, really, like, it just shows you how greedy people can be. It's just pure greed. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed watching this case, because you're going to be seeing a lot more of these around here. And let me know your thoughts and feelings on this case down below, and I shall see you next one. Mwah, thanks so much for watching.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.